So we see here that the handwriting is easy to read, but it doesn't really say much, if anything, more than the transcription on the certificate gave us. So a year later, the Cassidys have my grandfather, Joseph. So he was born on the 7th of August, and he was christened on the 13th of August. And his godparents are his uncle, Dominic Benson, and his aunt, who is the maid of honor, Mariah Benson. Apparently, before West Side Story, that spelling of the name was pronounced Mariah in the English-speaking world. And then with the overwhelming success of West Side Story, it has since become pronounced Maria. Again, the bottom right with the key, it shows that Joseph's baptismal entry is there. It doesn't have the marriage notation one would hope that it would have, but he did marry in 1919, but it doesn't give any other baptismal or birth details that we were unaware of. He did, surprisingly, I found that there was a note saying that there was a certificate of birth on file, but when I wrote, they couldn't find it. But then when I sent a copy of the letter that was in the family papers, they sent me this because it's a delayed birth certificate. But as you can see, it's the essential information of his birth, who his parents were, where they lived, his parents' ages, and then the doctor's name is the same doctor that delivered his sister Anne 5 years earlier. Although this is being created in 1909, and Family Story said that Bridget was 39 when he was born, but actually she was 40, and here's proof. In addition, so she's in the baptismal register in 1853 in June, or July actually, and she said she was born in June, baptized July 3rd, 1853. And then the city record, the paper dealing with municipal events, showed that the Register of Records was directed to record the births below, and then the key shows Joseph Cassidy, born August 7th, 1893, and the record was dated Saturday, March 13th, 1909. So he's 15 years old when this birth certificate is created. And then following him through his life, we see his marriage record. He must have his birth certificate with him because the birthplace, they don't just give New York, they give their street address. He was born at 246 East 35th Street, and his bride was born at 558 West 44th Street. They're both the children of Irish immigrants. It's a first marriage for both of them. So you can actually get exact birth location for a person from a marriage license affidavit. And then the church marriage record shows that he was baptized at St. Gabriel's on August 13th, 1893. So they had their baptismal certificates when they got married, and the priest recorded them properly. For whatever reason, neither St. Gabriel's nor St. Raphael's, I assume they didn't get informed that the couple married, but neither baptismal entry has the marriage notation that one would expect. And then the death certificates for the final family of Joseph Cassidy. Joseph himself died at 251 East 39th Street in 1928 on June 14th, and he was buried on June 16th at Calvary Cemetery. He was the son of Michael Cassidy and Mary Raby, actually Ravy, and they were both of Ireland, Newry, County Down / County Armagh. And then the undertaker was authorized, and it misidentifies his relative as Mary Cassidy. His wife's name is Bridget. Then 5 years later, on June 15th, his widow, Bridget, died, and her age is erroneous. She was, according to family tradition, she was 80, and she was baptized on July 3rd, so she probably was 79, almost 80, but she wasn't 69. Her career was housework. She'd been in New York for 50 years. She's the daughter of Dominic Benson. Make sure you notice that Dominic has a K. The K makes it Irish. And his wife, Mary Fahey. And Charles Hart is also the doctor that handles this burial or death certificate. And she was buried June 17th of 1933. And their son, John, it's actually Joseph John, is the person taking care of the undertaker. So it's interesting that both the husband and the wife's person taking care of arrangements is misidentified for whatever reason. And then in 1948, my grandfather Joseph died, and it gives that he was married to Sarah Goodwin, and his date of birth, his exact age at death. His parents are Joseph Cassidy and Bridget Benson, both of Ireland. And that this time it says that Joseph Cassidy's funeral arrangements will be handled by Sarah A. Cassidy, the wife. So they got that right, thankfully. So always be careful when you look at records. They may be erroneous. And then the cemetery gave a interment list. So I didn't pay for this until 2015, but for completion, I decided to get it. And it's Section 12, Range 22, Plot Q, Grave 1, and that is on the original certificate. And then it was purchased on January 1st, 1883. There's perpetual or care because it's not in perpetual care, so there's cost. So if someone else wanted to be buried there, it would cost. And then the listing of who's buried there: Margaret Cassidy, January 1st, 1883. Mary Cassidy, June 29th, 1883. Ellen Cassidy, May 22nd, 1889. Anne Cassidy, July 11th, 1889. And then Joseph Cassidy, June 16th, 1928. And Bridget Cassidy, June 16th, actually June 17th, 1933. And so again, and it says she's born U.S. when she's actually born in Ireland. So you do the best. You got to, preponderance of the evidence sometimes. And then I do have photographs here. The third Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Cassidy and his bride, the former Bridget Benson. I do not know what year that was taken. She apparently used sage tea to keep her hair brown. And then there are my grandparents, Joseph Cassidy and Sarah Goodwin. So I just wanted to make a little video of the story of my great-grandfather and how I discovered some of the things about his life that I was able to discover. Thank you for listening.